Yay!
Happy Sunday.
Happy Sunday.
How are
Which
you
weirdly
doing?
did not feel like Sunday
I
at
know.
all.
My
Like
days are
yesterday,
off.
I know. Yesterday it got to be like 5 p.m. and I was like, wait, tomorrow's Sunday. We have Star Trek Sunday tomorrow. Like it just
Yeah.
didn't
I was doing the same thing. I was basically like, God, I need to like set an alarm. I need to, because it just doesn't feel like Sunday. But anyway,
like
um,
normally it's fine, but for some reason this time, I think because I have tomorrow off, so it's like
fair enough.
just didn't feel like the normal cadence of the week.
That's fair. Yes. For anyone who's in the chat, which we have Baka, Peace Demish, Cairo. Hi, everyone. If you are here and you get tomorrow off, enjoy your long weekend.
Yes.
I'm on theme for today.
Yes.
Now Samantha can fully appreciate this sweatshirt as much as I do. But we have just started season 7. Also, Jedi has entered the chat, and hi, Christoph, and hey, Laura.
Hello.
So we ended with your first time watching Deep Space Nine, wondering what would happen to Jadzia. And now you know.
Now I know. Now the mystery has been solved.
How are you feeling?
Okay.
We'll get into the specific episodes, but
yeah,
overall, okay.
It's overall okay. Like the best analogy I can come up with is it's just like getting used to a new doctor, because like I don't not like her at all. Like, but it's hard to separate her from knowing she is Jadzia, but she's not Jadzia.
Yeah.
So that's literally what I'm going through, is just like the Doctor mourning period.
Got it. I think that's a perfect analogy, actually. I think that's perfect, because you get attached. For anyone who is a Doctor Who fan, you do get attached, especially when you discover your Doctor. And then when that changes, it takes time.
Tough. Yeah,
Yes.
It's tough.
Yes. Thank you for the stretch break, Bear Glove. Kuro is here. Astro, thank you for the subscription. Yay. And Peace Demish put it perfectly. Dax is dead. Long live Dax. So there you go.
Pretty much, yeah.
Awesome. So we're going to, because we want to try to do the finale, like the last 10 episodes all in one go, we're going to break it up a little bit this time. So we're still going to do 6 today, and then we're going to do 5 next week and 5 the following week, and then we'll be set up to go into the last epic DS9 finale.
So excited.
It's going to be so good. Oh, hi, Tabby. Okay, so we're going to start off with Image in the Sand. This is the first episode of season 7, Jesus. Season 7. And this episode basically continues right where we left off. A few months have passed, but Cisco is basically taking extended leave on Earth. He's working at his dad's restaurant, and Jake is there with them. Kira is now promoted to colonel and gets a badass haircut, and she's running Deep Space Nine, having to deal with some run-ins with Starfleet and Romulans, and then Worf is still grieving Jadzia. Kind of the three. Let's talk first about Cisco and this, because that's really, it's the beginning of a 2-part episode, but it sets up a lot. So what were your thoughts on this one?
I mean, it was I like that he separated himself. I like that we see him and his dad and Jake kind of as this little, doing their little normal human thing, on Earth. And the fact that his dad is like, is it his dad or Jake who's like, we've got to break him out of it? I think it's Jake who says he's been doing this for, months now. And his dad is like, we need to give him time. He's going through some stuff.
Yeah, I don't remember which one said that, but they definitely have that conversation.
Yeah.
Where one of them is like, nah, let's give him space. And
exactly. Just, I guess seeing Cisco slowed down, like he's just in his head space in this like day-to-day restaurant life with family, just like not starship stuff at all, right? Or space station stuff at all. It just it was this cool juxtaposition of his character, and that he took himself there to that place to get through this. And then, you know, the little prophet hints and stuff with the baseball at the piano, like that was so, like, that starts to bleed in again.
Yeah, a couple questions then about that. Like, do you think that this was more based on his needing to recoup his mindset after the prophets, or after losing the prophets, or after losing Jadzia, or both? Like,
oh, I think, well, actually, I thought it was more about the prophets, honestly, than Jadzia.
Yeah, I would agree.
Because Sisko's the one person who really knows, like, he's already gone through this with Curzon. You know, he knows he's going to meet Dax again at some point. He knows it's going to be a different person. So he actually, I think, has the least amount of hardcore mourning to do for Jadzia. Obviously, he's upset and misses her, and like Jadzia died.
Yeah.
So obviously he's emotional about that, but I think he probably has a different mentality about it.
Yeah. The other interesting thing that, when you were mentioning this, and Astro in the chat said, I love that he goes home when he's trying to sort out his head to his non-Starfleet family. We also got that a little bit, but I think a little less intensely than Picard in Family. Remember? Because Picard goes back to France after the Locutus of Borg incident, and in a very similar way, but I feel like with Sisko in New Orleans, he's given time and space to grieve, and like with Picard going back to his family, there was something to that, but I think there was less space given for that, if that makes sense.
Totally. Yeah. I forgot about that, but that's a fantastic analogy. Very similar journey that they go through.
Yeah. Just say hi to a couple of people. Hi, Mikhail. Hi, Raj, Smithis, Yoga. Hi, everyone. Yeah. So it's interesting, and it picks up. I mean, it literally like ends. Sisko's whole thing ends with sort of seeing a vision, and then Dax showing up.
Yeah.
And you texted me. You're like, what?
Yeah. Not what I was expecting at all. Yes. But before we talk about that, is this the episode where is it this one or the next one where we get the Sisko's mom story?
That's the next episode. That's where right now he's just seen, he's had that vision, and that's like where he starts packing to go do it. And then
that's right.
Is it actually? No, I might be wrong. I think that is in this episode. And then they leave.
It's the next one where they go to that sand planet. And then this is the one where Jake is like, oh, I've seen her before. The photographer, Sisko's trying to piece together his vision.
Yeah.
And it turns out it's not his mom. It
is his mom. Yeah.
It is his mom. The person he thought was his mom is not biologically his mom. Right. And the prophets put this together. Yeah. And so is he half prophet, or is he just like human and they put this in motion?
So I think, they kind of leave it up to interpretation, and I'd be curious too what the chat thinks about this. Like the way that they introduce Sarah, and we might as well just talk about it because it blends between the two perfectly. Right. But the way they introduce Sarah, right, is that Sisko has this vision of a woman's face in the sand, and then he's trying to reconstruct it using a excellent character creator. and Jake basically walks by and he's like, "Hey, I know that face," and it's from like an old photograph with Sisko's dad. And he basically is like, I don't want to talk about it. And then, of course, family secrets come undone. And, he's like, yeah, that was a woman named Sarah, and she's your actual mom, but she left after like 2 years or something, and never heard from her again. And then I think they kind of established more that she was a prophet at the end of the next episode when he actually gets to the orb, right? Because that's where the prophets are kind of like, this was meant to be. Like, you are not just some random dude plucked out to be the emissary.
Right. Okay. Right. Yeah. They really do bleed together. So I was thinking that was the first one.
Yeah. Gotcha. So, Cairo put it really well. I think Sarah Sisko is still human, so genetically he's human, but she was inhabited by a prophet. So then at least the will of the prophets that Sisko was born. I think that's probably fair. I think that's probably the best summary of it. Yeah. So then before we move on to the next episode with him seeking out the orb of the emissary that they didn't know about until now, we have Kira trying to hold her ground on Deep Space Nine. Right.
Admiral Kira.
Yes, yeah, Colonel Kira.
Yeah.
Colonel Kira. But yeah, also Ambassador. How did you I kind of like the relationship between her and Kretak, Senator Kretak, the Romulan.
I loved it at first. I mean, I actually really, really enjoyed it. I thought it was cool. It seemed like the Romulan lady was sort of less Romulan-y and like kind of wanted a friend and wanted to be Kira's friend. And I was like, this is so nice. This is so sweet. And then it's like, God damn it. Why can't Kira have nice things?
Stupid Romulans. Yeah, exactly. Kira can't have nice things. I love the scene where Kira is walking down the promenade and sees Kretak buying the jump just stick. She's just like, exactly. Oh, I thought it would be interesting. I love it.
I know. It was so cool. It was so nice. And then it wasn't.
Yeah. Freaking Romulans, man. But I do think though that the relationship between Kretak and Kira was genuine. I do feel like it wasn't fully manipulative. I think that there was an element of respect, and then the way the Romulans are is like, okay, well, now that you're in the good graces, like, let's build a weapons facility on Bajor.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, good times. Yeah, all of that. So that sets it up. That's where, like, Kretak's there, and then she asks them to build a hospital on Derna. And then we have a little bit of Worf mourning in this one. That, again...
Right, they packed a lot in.
it's a lot in this first episode, but it leads into the next one as well, so we can talk about it more there. But I personally, my highlight of this episode with that storyline is where O'Brien brings the blood wine to Worf and is like, hey, we're gonna drink and we're gonna talk. Doesn't have to be about Jadzia, but I'm gonna sit here and we're gonna talk. And I love it.
That was so great. That was one of my favorite moments too. And I mean, the fact it's Bashir that suggests this, right? He's like, you need to go and like talk to him. You're one of his best friends, and that was, you know, O'Brien kind of begrudgingly goes to his quarter and is like, wine. And Worf is like, thank you. Goodbye. Brian's like, no. We need to sit down and talk. And I love that they just, hearing them reminisce about the Enterprise, it was like, I know that name. I know what they're talking about.
It was such a genuine scene. I really
completely. And then I love that O'Brien's like super hungover the next day. He's like, we did not talk about Jadzia until the last 5 minutes.
Which also I think is so true. Like, I feel like that's such a thing between friends when you have those moments. Tutters, thank you. Welcome. You are more than welcome. Enjoy the Star Trek discussion. Christoph, yes, Samantha has watched all of TNG. We watched that right before DS9, I think. So things like them talking about Barclay, talking about, it's just... Yeah,
just hearing all the names and,
it's adorbs.
It is.
All right, so we'll branch that one then. It's just there's so much in these first two episodes.
Yeah. I think we can just talk about them both together now.
Pretty much, yeah.
The
So
second one.
let's continue the Worf thing then, since we're on that. They find out that he's mourning because not only does he miss Jadzia, he understands the Dax thing. He doesn't know that Ezri exists or is back yet. But he's basically mourning that she's not in Stovacor. Right. She's not in the Klingon. It's essentially Valhalla is really kind of where it's supposed to be. And so because she didn't die an honorable death in what he considered Klingon culture, one of the things they can do to get her into Stovacor is to go on a mission that would be high risk and succeed in that. And our favorite Klingon space dad, Martok, takes him on that mission.
So sweet.
Yeah.
Yeah, space dad Martok. I love that. Yeah, I mean, it was interesting that Worf. I didn't mind that he was so hung up on Stovacor, but it annoyed me a little that was so over the thing for him, as opposed to, I don't know. I'm that's maybe not right. It was just kind of like, oh, okay, this is the thing. This is war. He needs to focus on getting her into Stovacor, and it kind of like as a mourning, as a stage of grief, almost. He's
right.
Yeah.
Which I think, for people who are religious, they are able to put grief, to assign something to that. And I think that that's kind of what Worf is doing, is he feels the need that he wants to have that achievement. So he gets some closure. And Turquoise also kind of mentioned this too, that he knows too, Jadzia really did love Klingon culture. I mean, genuinely, and being a part of the House of Martok was a big deal for her. So yeah. Yeah.
I guess, and that took me a hot second, but then I was like, no, she really would want to be there for Worf and for her. Like, but at first I was like, well, Jadzia is not Klingon. Does she really belong there? And then I was like, yeah, she does.
Yeah, exactly.
And I mean, the fact that Quark goes with them to help, I was beside myself. I mean, so many heart eye emojis for Quark in that moment. Like, so sweet of him to do that. I mean, he obviously doesn't belong in the field.
On a Klingon ship of all places.
I know. I was shocked that he went, but it wasn't a shock of like, this doesn't make sense in the writing. It was a shock of like personal growth for Quark.
Yeah, it was really good. Also, thank you, Tutters. Yay, Garrick Jazz Hands, for subscribing. And I love how tolerant Martok is of all. Like, I feel like Martok, even though he actually doesn't have a lot in this episode particularly, but he's just like, he gets Jadzia, he gets Worf. He's like, yes, those people need to come. We will accommodate them. They're going to be difficult, but we got to suck it up. Like, it's
totally.
And I love that.
It was such a great moment. And then, I mean, Bashir and O'Brien come too. And the thing is, I would have believed that Bashir and Quark would go without them setting up the weird, like, they had feelings for Jadzia thing. Like, there were a couple episodes previously, and I think there's one after this, where they really double down on that. I'm like, why you gotta? Like, I believe they loved her, but I also kind of knew that already. Like, they're like hammering that over the head for some reason, and it's very strange.
In the end of season 6, going into season 7, and to remind people in the chat, Samantha's watching these for the first time. So if I say something stupid, that's why. No, but just because like we have some new people in the chat, and so I want to make sure like they understand the context of why we're breaking this apart. So Samantha's not watching the chat, so you can spoil away as much as you want. And I'm just filtering what I pass along.
Right.
But yeah, I think it's see, with Quark, I think he loved the idea of Jadzia.
Oh, yeah.
You know, I think that was pretty obvious. And he just has, you know, Quark is just gonna Quark. Like, he's just got
Quark's gonna Quark.
misplaced feelings, and it's just kind of weird about stuff, and that's all well and good. But, yeah, I love it. And I think
it's great.
It's great closure. And you really feel when they accomplish their mission, they give the time and space to Worf to, you know, do the reciting the chant, and chills. Oh, so good.
Yeah. And I mean, Worf at first is really annoyed that they're there, you know, and they don't quite understand that. But his speech to them after Martok talks to him, like, Dad, Martok again, I'm going to use that. Is like, no, like you said, they need to be here too for them. And so then Worf's like apology speech was so great.
Yeah. And he goes and he's like, look, I might not have understood your relationship with Jadzia, but I know you meant a lot to her. So just stop complaining about the gawk.
Yes. That is what we serve.
So great. I love it. Just to keep things moving a little bit, let's go back to the sort of brief. It's a little bit slower on this end with Cisco's mission to get the Orb of the Emissary, which again, to remind people, they didn't realize that existed, and then he gets these visions, and he goes and finds this. He becomes a little difficult. Cisco stresses me out in this episode.
He stresses me out in a lot of episodes. Let's just be clear.
Yes.
Yeah, he's very single-minded, and very just not quite caring about the other people there. Of course, they didn't have to go, but Ezri is really the one that keeps things moving together there. Actually stopping to let Dad and Jake's catch up and give them water, and so yeah, it's a little but
I feel like, I mean, it's just credit so much to the acting for the Dad and Jake, and I just felt like that was such a grandfather-grandson scene, the way they interacted, and the fact that they're there for Jake's dad and his son. We're going over our time for this episode a little bit, but the last thing, Benny from the 1950s sci-fi reveal, Dr. Wyckoff, please report to the isolation ward 4.
Yeah.
What'd you think of that?
Interesting tie-in, and then it like doesn't really go anywhere.
Yeah.
Right? But while it was happening, like, it's hit or miss for me, but most of the time I love the mental asylum. Didn't really happen type stuff, because it's so frustrating, but at the same time it's like, it's fun. I didn't mind this fake out, like,
and it builds the stakes. Like, I get wary of Dr. Wyckoff, because just go to the isolation ward 4. But I love the high stakes with him just trying to write. He opens it, and I just, and then once he writes it's so good. Yeah,
I mean, it just builds and builds and builds. It's so tense, and then it just like, so it was like, I wasn't sure why they did that, but it was really fun to watch anyway.
Yeah. I think, I don't know. I'm curious why they brought that back, but I think it was very effective.
I think it helps build that tension. Yeah. And it was an interesting tie back to that episode.
Speaking of that episode, and there was a question in the chat, Tutters mentioned them, and then Laura asked specifically, did you recognize the doctor in that scene who was restraining Cisco? So that was Damar. The guy who plays Damar, in the same way that they have, like, in that original one, right, everyone's out of their prosthetics and you get to see them not as themselves, but as different characters. Yeah, that was Damar.
And Damar's the Cardassian working with Wayne now, right?
Yep, the alcoholic Cardassian.
I was just going to say the alcoholic Cardassian.
Yeah.
Really?
Yes. So
I did not know that.
Yeah, Casey Biggs. He's fabulous. He's very nice. He holds a cocktail mixing class on the Star Trek cruise.
Nice. That's awesome.
With like very little irony involved. Tomorrow's teaching
really
a cocktail
great.
class. Yeah.
Love it.
So yeah, good times. But anyway,
right.
yeah. And then last one. Geez, this is taking the whole. That's okay. That's okay. The last
There's
thing...
one in here that we'll skip through, hopefully.
yeah. We'll definitely skip that one. The Otokira Blockade standoff scene. There's so much in this episode.
Packing it in.
Yeah, I first of all love it. I love it. I don't know what you thought about Odo and Kira, because again, I'm conducting the train, you're on the station. But I love his line where he's like, I'm coming with you. And it's like, I wanted to live a long life with you, but I'll settle for short and exciting as long as it's with you. And I'm like, oh, yes.
Very sweet.
Odo
yes.
and Kira. So
very sweet. Yeah. So the Odo and Kira thing, I've liked seeing them like having a relationship now. Like they're working and they're together and they're just doing their thing as a couple. It's great. It's just not my jam though. Like
it's okay.
Like I have the ticket to the train in my hand, but I'm just not sure I'm gonna catch the next one.
You've moved from standing on the station to purchasing a ticket on the ship train, exactly. So that's fine.
I've purchased a ticket on the ship train, but I got other stuff to do.
That's awesome. I mean, it is a credit to Renee and Nana that like their chemistry is fabulous.
Yes. And if that wasn't there, it would be like completely dead in the water for me, but they definitely have chemistry. And I'm seeing them now, like, and knowing how much they knew each other, how long they've known each other, like that helps it make a lot of sense too.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. And then, I love me a Blockade storyline also. Standoff. So that was, that was so great. Yeah.
That was great. And they're just like, remind me never to play poker with you.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. That's really, really good.
And it was like up into the wire, it could have gone either way.
Yeah. Yeah. She held in there. I mean, she was ready to give up. And that was the thing. She was not blinking. She was going all the way.
Totally.
And that was awesome. Okay. Also, quite a few people in the chat agree with you on, yeah. Astro says it took me a while to warm up to their relationship and I didn't feel they had sexual chemistry, but definitely had affection. And then Tabitha says, I don't buy them as a couple, but super close BFFs. So yeah, anyway, you're not alone.
Okay. That's nice.
All right, let's move on to After Image. This is the big Ezri is on Deep Space Nine.
Yeah.
Now everyone cope with it. Is basically the plot. And they set this up very well at the end of season 6, where we all agreed, and I mean, you mentioned this as well without knowing Ezri was coming, that ship needs a counselor. Deep Space Nine has needed some serious therapy, and so they bring her in to do that, and I think that that's really great. So yeah. Anyway. Yeah,
that was a fun tie-in to that episode. Or just we mentioned it with O'Brien on the Sound of Her Voice episode that he needs a counselor desperately, and DS9 needs one. It's surprising they don't have one. So I liked that this kind of called back to that a little bit. And yeah, I mean, we get to see Ezri go through the sort of normal Trill, newly joined Trill feelings and confusion and all of that, which, you know.
I heard that. Yeah.
Oh.
You're good. I'll carry it. You're good. You're good.
I'll be right back.
Nope, you're good. So yeah, I mean, essentially what's going on, right? And we can stick in the chat now. But let's talk about Garrick. We can set up some discussions about Garrick here. Cairo mentioned, I love when Ezri's in Cisco's office and looks out to Ops. Yeah, see. Oh, I know. That's so good. And it's so good when Ezri just keeps taking the side door because she doesn't want to interact with Worf. That was really good. Christoph said, I'm really glad they didn't bring in Troy. That it's glad to see Ezri as a counselor. Yeah. Welcome back.
Sorry.
Crisis averted.
Sorry.
Okay.
Yeah, there's an Amazon truck parked right outside that's playing really loud music, so sorry about that.
You're good. I can't hear it.
Okay.
So yeah, we just mentioned Garrick and him
Yes.
being the throughput for Ezri, and I love duh. Anything with Garrick makes me happy, but the sort of unpacking of why he's having claustrophobic attacks all of a sudden is fabulous, and how it ties back to really he feels like he's almost self-punishing because he's betraying Cardassia, and I just it breaks my heart.
That coming out, was super interesting. And the fact that like Ezri helps that realization come through, and she helps him realize it's a realization.
Yeah.
I love how she gets to use him to kind of distract herself from what she's going through, and he gets this great, type of closure from her, and ends up respecting what she could do.
Yeah.
Because at first he's like, I don't need therapy thing. And this holosuite is lovely, but
I don't need therapy.
Yeah. And then seeing them together, I like that they had a lot of moments together. Ezri, similarly to everyone in the show, I was getting used to her still. And I guess just looping back to that, because we sort of dropped it in the first episode discussion. I was very surprised by their choice of who Ezri was going to be. I honestly was sort of expecting and kind of wanted a male character. I feel like that would have been easier to cope with.
Interesting.
And so that was surprising. And then like she's so young. And she's so young, which is also really jarring and a little strange. Because she kind of looks like a young Jadzia. Like she could be Jadzia just starting at the academy. So when she first was at the door, I was like, oh, great. We're in some kind of temporal anomaly here.
Oh my God,
back in time.
So I love
young Jadzia coming to warn Cisco about something. I don't know what is going on.
Oh my God. I love how much Deep Space Nine has made you not trust anything. I said this the last time and I'm saying it again. It's like anytime these things happen, you're like, nope, it's a trap. Something weird's happening. So good.
I'm just like Admiral Akbaring the entire series. Like, it's a trap. It's a trap.
That's so good.
Don't pay attention. Yeah. So I legitimately thought that for like a couple minutes, and I was like, okay, no, it's just someone who happens to look very much like a young Jadzia. So yeah, and what else in this episode?
So one of the best things I think about this one is the conclusion that she gets with Worf, which I feel is very natural. That Worf has he's got sort of closure with Jadzia, but having Ezri there makes it very difficult, and he's very jealous, but like in a weird way. And I love when they call him out on it and just be like, "No, you're being an ass," and Jadzia would be pissed if this is how you were treating the new Dax.
Yeah, but I guess I get that. I get what he kind of. I love that they have closure by the end of the episode, but I like them bringing up Sto-Vo-Kor again, because he's dealing with the fact that, like, well, is she actually there? Did we do our job? He can't reconcile both, which I mean, valid. Trills are confusing.
Yeah. And through this episode, though, I get the closure that, in the same way he talks through it, is that Jadzia died. Mm-hmm. The Dax symbiont carries her memories in a way that a lot of us cope with grief of, especially if you're not particularly traditional religion focused, having that concept that you carry the memories of these people and that's their afterlife, like that is kind of comforting. And I think that that's what he's going to with this one. Mm-hmm. But yeah, it's interesting.
It's a great episode.
I'm glad you liked it. I do really like this one. And I just think overall, I'm very glad. I put in our notes, like, I'm really glad that this episode exists because it really just gives the space to introduce Ezri and to address all the characters' reaction to her. And I just think it's fabulous.
Yeah. Yeah. Same.
Okay. Oh, Samantha, I was so freaking excited for you to watch Take Me Out to the Hollow Suite. Because if people don't know this, Samantha's a big baseball fan.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know why anyone else would know that. Samantha's a big baseball fan. And
it is true.
This is the baseball episode, so I kind of just want to sit back and hear you reminisce about Take Me Out to the Hollow Suite.
Oh my God, I loved it so much. I texted you, I think halfway through the Buddy the Elf, I love episode 4. Episode 4 is my favorite. As a baseball fan, just so much about this was so enjoyable. And I had been really worried that I had imagined the picture I've seen of Worf in the baseball outfit. I was starting to get really stressed out that wasn't going to happen. So when I saw the title of this episode, I was just like, oh my God, I think this is it.
This is happening.
It's actually happening. Just joyful, just such a joyful episode. So much levity and watching them all be hopeless at playing baseball. Except for Cassidy and Jake and Cisco. I mean, the whole thing of them all wanting to do the tryouts, even Quark pulls the whole that's stupid, I don't want to do that, and then they're all like, we're gonna go try to play baseball, and Quark's like, can I come? So sweet. And throwing Rom out of the game, which was heartbreaking, but then he goes in and he wins the winning bunch, and not winning,
definitely not winning, but they scored
or a run, and just them going through all the rules before reading there's an infield fly rule, and that happens when this happens, only if that happens, and
So Christoph brought up some great trivia that Max Grodenchek, who plays Rom, had played in the junior league or something like that, and actually had a really hard time faking not being able to play. And so, Cairo mentioned that Max played with his wrong hand to fake not playing well.
Oh, he did. So he's not a lefty.
Yeah, because I noticed that too.
Because I'm a left-handed batter, so I was like, yeah, I have something in common with Rom.
You have something in common with Rom, that's for sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's so great.
Wait, Max is not, that's not Rom?
Yeah. No, that is Rom.
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
yeah. I just meant you have something in common with Rom, not Max.
Oh, right.
Max, the person. Yeah.
And yeah, Odo being the umpire.
Oh, so good.
Practicing
out of here.
Yeah. And then, I mean, I was so into this, when Cisco got thrown out, valid, because that was a strike. I mean, Odo made the right call.
That's awesome.
I don't know. This was my jam.
Yeah.
It was brilliant.
It's so good. You have also another trivia fact in here too that I was like, oh my gosh, yes. I love how much you know about baseball.
Well, I did look it up. I didn't know this off the top of my head, but okay. This episode aired in October of 1998, which was after the 1998 baseball season, but during that season was the home run race between Mark McGwire and Sammy Sosa.
I do remember that, yeah.
Which, even if you weren't into baseball, you kind of knew it was happening. It was also around the whole steroid thing, but
a whole other thing.
But yeah, I was curious if that was the same time period, and I thought it might be.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Also in the chat, we're reminded about Worf's trash talking. Death to the opposition.
Death to the opposition.
Still one of the greatest gifs of all time.
Yeah.
And yeah, the ending with Rom is fabulous and so satisfying and so kind and so wonderful.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. All right. Well, I'm so glad that you got to see this episode. Oh yeah, and the fact that Sisko's wearing a Giants hat.
Giants hat. Like that's icing on the cake. I mean, that's my team.
So good. I love it. That's so great. All right. Well, now you have your episode. Everyone has like their Star Trek episode that when they're like sick or like you want to watch some Star Trek, you need something to just cheer you up. You've got your go-to.
All the way. All the way.
That's awesome. So good. All right. And then of course we have to talk about Solok, the grumpy Vulcan who's the captain of the other team. And I love this because I feel like the DS9 doesn't really deal with Vulcans that much. They've got enough to deal with Cardassians and Bajorans and all of that. And they bring in like another side of Vulcans for sure in this.
Well, do they though? Because I feel like Vulcans are... I love that they're all like at the end, they're all celebrating and he's so confused. He's like, why are you celebrating? You lost. But it's that whole after school special thing of we had fun.
Yeah.
But they're all like jabbing him and saying, that seemed like an emotion. It seemed like you're annoyed. That seemed like an emotion. That seemed like you're irritated. Like Vulcans, like they are this, they have emotions. So you're just like, twist it around and pretend that they don't.
They bury them deep.
They bury them deep. Like, I don't know. It was just a fun jab of like, yeah.
So good.
So good.
I'm really, really glad that you enjoyed this episode and got to see it. And I look forward to seeing you deck out in your Niners gear.
Yeah, it's happening. It was a workable.
Love it. Okay, so the last two episodes we're going to talk about, one we're going to kind of breeze through a little bit because neither of us like it, judging by your notes and my notes. But the next one is Chrysalis. So this is the one where Jack, Lauren, Patrick, and Serena, the other genetically modified Starfleet people, show up at Deep Space Nine dressed as an admiral with their staff. Because Bashir can try and cure Serena's condition, which is a whole thing. And then the icing on the cake of awkward is that Bashir falls in love with her. And yeah. So a couple people like the episode in the chat. I'd be curious. I think that the characters are compelling. I just think the messaging about it is not great. And then Bashir annoys me just as a lawful aligned person.
Yeah. No, Bashir, just a bunch of nope for me in this episode, which I hate to say because I love him, but
you do love Bashir. Yeah,
I do. And this was just a big old nope for Bashir. Because I just didn't want it to go that way. Like I kept hoping that they would steer the other direction. And I had hoped Bashir would steer the other direction, you know?
Yeah.
And then they just didn't. They just took it there. They took it there. And I was like, that's just not okay. And I don't know, like this group, I liked the previous episode. It was really interesting from a mental illness standpoint of addressing them being shunned from society and all of that story. But it was a very interesting, good episode. I think we discussed that one with Mary and Mike. It was in our most recent one with them. But I just, seeing them come back, I was like, more chances for them to make mistakes. Like more for the writer, for the Star Trek.
More dated Star Trek stuff.
Yeah, exactly. And I was like, why did they do that?
Yeah.
So I don't know. It kind of made me a little uncomfortable, but from there, and then of course the love story was just not, made me very uncomfortable also.
Not great. I mean, I'm not making excuses for it, but I do think, to the credit, the fact that he did push her and she withdrew and he realized what he did. At least they did that story. That it could have gone a lot darker with the whole consent thing, and it didn't. So
yeah,
there is that.
Yeah, no, they did pull it back at the end. I mean, he realized that was a mistake. So that's I'm glad that they did that. I agree.
Yeah, it's and so Tabitha said the kind of the same thing. So the things I liked about this episode, and quite a few people in the chat mentioned this too, Admiral Patrick is fabulous, where he just goes, "That's a stupid question."
Yes.
That's a stupid question. And then when they're like, "How did you get here?" They're like, "He just said that the whole time." That was pretty great.
Loved it.
And then I did like their relationship and their chemistry as a group, where they really felt the loss of Serena, and they felt like they were being torn apart as a family, with her being cured, which I think is the other major oof of this episode. Beyond the patient-doctor consent, there's this whole concept about curing mental illnesses, or whatever disease we're talking about, if it even is a disease, and that's it's a whole bunch of oof.
Yeah.
But
so
anyway,
one of the best episodes followed by one of the worst, in my opinion.
That's okay. I do think it hasn't aged great. This is one of those where rewatching it again, it's not one that I would particularly go out of my way to watch, but like doing a full rewatch, coming across it again, I cringed and got upset more than I was expecting when the episode started. And a lot of that was Bashir's behavior.
Yeah. Fully agree.
Dumb? Why be dumb? All right. And kudos to O'Brien for being like, "What are you doing, bro?"
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so the last episode, we made it. We made up our time. Good job. That was treacherous there in a while, talking half hour on the first two episodes. So the last episode we're going to talk about is Treachery, Faith, and the Great River. We are back into the Dominion War, and it is fabulous. This is where Odo is summoned to a secret rendezvous with Weyoun, who basically says, "I'm defecting." Odo's like, "What?" But takes him into custody to bring him back, and then they get hailed by another Weyoun, who's like, you're defector, you're not right, and you need to be destroyed. And there's a whole just bunch with Damar, Weyoun 7, and then the B plot is just perfect. This is where O'Brien is trying to get a crucial piece of equipment and basically gives Nog his authorization codes.
Oops.
Nog goes for a sail down the great material continuum. And it's delightful.
I could have an entire episode with that as the A plot, like just Nog making things happen. Like,
so good. Oh dear. Yeah. All right. So let's talk first about the Odo and Weyoun 6. What are your thoughts on this? We're getting a little bit more Vorda plot. We're getting a little bit more Damar and Weyoun 7, and then we learned that the founders have a disease. Yeah. Not too unhappy about that, to be honest.
Creepy Glenn Close can. Yeah. Creepy Glenn Close with cracking skin. Yeah, good times. Yeah, so Weyoun is squared now. Oh, well, actually, that would mean there's 4, right?
double Weyoun, yeah.
I don't do math. Yeah, I mean, interesting. So, but one of my 2 big questions. Is our Weyoun that we've been dealing with the whole time gone now, and it's just these 2?
Oh God, asking which Wayun we've hung out with is we've just yes.
No, but also yes.
No,
Gotcha.
but also yes. Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, maybe I honestly, I'm so sorry to reveal this side of myself. I get so distracted by Jeffrey Combs and Wayun that I kind of lose track on the plot and the dialogue because I just like looking at him. So I'm just like, it's Wayun.
It's just Wayun. And you're like, I get double Wayun in this episode.
We've definitely been dealing with multiple because like you got that whole first one. I mean, remember we had like a Wayun the first one and then he died and then we got another one.
Yeah.
In which order that one fell between then and now. Yeah, we're kind of.
But there's not normally two at one time, right?
That's no. Yes,
right.
In that respect, no. We've always had one at a time. The question is, have we ever dealt with Wayun 6, or did they just declare him defective from the get-go?
Yeah. Okay. I'm confused about that. And then my second question is,
okay. So
we get the Vorta backstory, but is any of that true? Because I get to my notes here. So they're clones, right? But the story was like, we were woodland creatures and then the founders came. So they weren't always clones, or like, so their natural reproduction was stopped by the founders so they could just keep cloning them to control them, or were they a society of clones? Like, I am confusion.
No, that's all really good. Yeah, I agree, Laura. Well, so our good friend Professor Muhammad Noor is in the chat. And he said his favorite line was, overconfidence, the hallmark of the Wayuns. Maybe the founders should eliminate that from your genetic recipe next time. So there is, I guess I'm going to put how I have it in my mind out there, but this is by no means, I can't declare it canonical. It's just how I always thought about it. I always pictured the Vorta as a species that existed in their own right in the Gamma Quadrant. Then when the founders started, and then they kind of rose to power, and then you've got the founders kind of taking over, and I think then they started meddling and started creating clones to, as part of their thing. So it's like, in my picture, I feel like there are other Vorta out there who might not necessarily be clones, as opposed to like the Jem'Hadar, right? Which are bred specifically for like what they do. But I think with the Vorta, I've always seen them as a little bit more
That's what
actions.
That's what I thought, but it just seemed it was just interesting that like, oh, so they're not, they weren't born like the Jem'Hadar.
Right.
They are actually a species of beings.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I'm catching up on the chat. Thank you, chat brain. Tabitha says we need a Wayun tracker app that allows you to point the camera at the screen and it tells you which Wayun it is. I love that. Baka says I got the impression the founders uplifted them. And then Tabitha said, yep, they uplifted them from an arboreal species. Turquoise said the Vorta are literally Cylons. I like that. Professor North, thank you, agrees with me. Pictured it too, that the wild Vortas were like a template for the clones. And then, yeah, JP McCool, thank you for bringing in that quote. Clones, keeping track of them is a full-time job. Damar. That's awesome.
Yes.
It is. Obviously, so you're not alone.
Okay, good.
But I think that's how I pictured it. They're not totally bred. There are a species, but they have been manipulated and cloned by the founders.
Okay.
Evil Glenn Close.
Evil Glenn Close.
Okay, so yeah, the last part about the Wayun thing, I love this scene where Wayun 6 decides to die, and then it is 100,000% the scene from Galaxy Quest with Alan Rickman where he says, "My grandfather's hammer, you shall be avenged." And it's so good. Where he's like, "Please bless me, Odo," and I love it.
That's awesome.
But yeah, did you have any other thoughts on the Wayun plot?
I guess, I mean, not really. I believed that that he was defecting. Like, I didn't think that was, a plot. I did for a split second, and then it was like, no, I think this is real.
Always be suspicious. Yes.
Always be suspicious. Yeah, I mean, I liked seeing a little more about them, about who they are, and then have one of them sort of thinking for himself a little more. And yeah.
How do you feel about Damar?
Um,
Because he's starting to go a little bit rogue, right? He's drinking a lot. They've definitely made that clear. He's like bringing women onto like their super secret area to show off.
Right.
And then he tried to kill one of, he tried to kill Odo, and was basically like, yeah, I'm done with this.
Yeah. I don't know how I feel about him. Like, I like him more than Ducat.
Okay. Okay. Nice.
But I don't like him. But he seems more, I have a feeling like they're setting up the drinking to be something. Like he's gonna be super drunk and like fall off a spaceship or something.
Someone write that fan fiction, please. Yeah, so on the ranking of Cardassians, he's above Ducat. Got it. Okay, that's fair.
Yeah.
Just because you pointed out that they're building up a character arc with him, so I'm just curious kind of what you thought about that. But all right, and then let's talk about the great material continuum.
Oh my god, just the best. Like, so stressful for O'Brien when he realizes what's happening, and he can't. He's like, what am I gonna do? This is, and it's like, you just gotta trust, man. You just gotta trust. Like, I mean, Nog just gets everything kind of comes back to the circle. He gets the desk,
yeah, he steals the desk. He steals the blood wine from Martok, which, like, dude,
balls.
Yeah, I love when Kira pulls him in and the desk is literally gone. Like, I just think that's one of the funniest things. And then to, as an audience member, figure out what's going on is just so funny.
Yeah. I mean, kudos to Nog, like, using his Ferengi-ness to make this happen, but also, I mean, the scene when he's like talking to O'Brien about it, like, oh, I traded the desk for this to this person and O'Brien's like, and they have the whatever we need. And Nog's like, no, but this other person needs that. And they have what we need. No, but they I mean, you can just see O'Brien's like blood pressure rising.
I know, because it's all being done under his authority. It's so good. It's so great. Cairo says, can we just sympathize with the guy who wants pictures behind all the captain's desks? Oh totally. My god, that's so great. I love, and I did look this up too, because the entire time when Nog keeps saying the river provides, he's giving off such Big Lebowski vibes of the dude abides. Like, every single time he said it, I was like, man. And I looked it up, and Big Lebowski came out in March 1998, and this episode came out in November 1998. So it's close, but there's a non-zero chance they may have been filming this after the Big Lebowski came out. So, because every time
that is like, amazing.
The river provides.
Yeah. Yeah, I'd be hard pressed to believe that was not a callback.
It was so good.
So good.
So great. Yeah, even if it wasn't intentional in the writing, like, I feel the performance was definitely driven by that.
He was throwing that in.
So great. So good. And the river did provide. And,
it did. I mean, and it keeps going. Like, at the end, they're going down the thing, and Nog's just like, so, do you want, like, the rivers just keeps going because he's talking about some other product that O'Brien might want or something. But
it's like, should we get off here? So good.
Martok comes storming in, and O'Brien's like, it just got choppy.
Yeah.
But then Nog, like, he just got all the pieces in place.
Yeah.
He got him a better year, you know?
I love it. I think this plot, the one where Nog and Jake go to trade the baseball, to get the baseball card, like, those moments, I feel, just encapsulate Deep Space Nine. The fact that you have so many different people with so many different motivations, so many characters we're attached to, that they can have these, like, montage scenes, and it just, you love it. Like, I think that that's just what makes Deep Space Nine fabulous.
Yeah.
And, makes me just want to live there. All of their shenanigans. All right, any final thoughts on this?
No. That sums it up.
All right. Astro says, sometimes I could use some of Nog's "it'll be fine" energy.
Right. I know.
Okay, so next week, now going forward, to recap where Samantha is in the realm of Deep Space Nine, Ezri Dax exists. Nope, I'm self-editing all the things I'm saying. The founders have a disease. Damar is being difficult. And the paw wraiths are sort of still a thing. They've at least haven't totally been resolved. They were able to open the wormhole again, but the Dominion War is still happening. Yeah.
Right.
All right. And, thank you, Laura. Yeah, if people missed it, you can check out my interview on the Pod Directive from a couple weeks ago. I was very, very happy with that. Next week, we're going to be talking about the next 5 episodes. Brace yourselves, audience, for the list. We're going to be talking about Once More Unto the Breach, The Siege of AR-558, Covenant, It's Only a Paper Moon, and Prodigal Daughter. So we're going to talk about the Siege of AR-558 and It's Only a Paper Moon in one discussion. Samantha and I will talk about it, but I think we're going to talk about the others, and then we'll talk about the 558 and Paper Moon by themselves, because it's a lot. Yeah, the chat. Oh my god. Wow. Deep and oof. To give Samantha a little bit of context for how we're all reacting.
Fantastic. What is coming?
We appreciate you sticking with us and sharing the emotions on this journey. Bring tissues next week. It's going to be a lot. I can't even talk about it without getting, like, literally I'm getting emotional thinking about it right now.
Oh no.
So it's going to be good. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So Samantha, go forth, watch those episodes, and it's just the next 5, not 6.
Right.
And we'll be back next Sunday, 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 p.m. Eastern. And for those of you who have a long weekend, enjoy. Otherwise, everyone, take care. Stand up, stretch, grab some water. Thank you again, Samantha.
Thank you.
Live long and prosper. We'll see you next time. All right. Thanks, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.